Long before the nation of Israel became free, they lived as slaves in the land of Egypt. For over 400 years, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had multiplied greatly in the fertile region of Goshen. What began as a family of 70 people fleeing famine had grown into a mighty population within the empire. But as generations passed, a new Pharaoh arose who did not remember Joseph, the Hebrew administrator who had once saved Egypt from starvation. This Pharaoh looked at the growing Israelites and became terrified of their strength, their numbers, and their influence. Fear took root in his mind, and he decided to enslave them, forcing them into brutal manual labor. The Israelites were forced to build store cities like Pithom and Ramses, designed to showcase the glory of an empire built on the backs of slaves. Day after day, they mixed mud, shaped bricks, and labored under a relentless, scorching sun. The heat was suffocating, the work was backbreaking, and their lives were measured in the heavy weight of stones. Their backs bled from the constant, cruel cracks of Egyptian overseers' whips. The air in those construction sites was filled with desperate, ragged breathing and the dust of crushed hopes. Their cries rose to heaven, a collective scream of suffering that pierced the sky, and God heard them. Far away in the quiet, dusty wilderness of Midian, God called an 80-year-old shepherd named Moses. Moses had once lived in royal luxury inside Pharaoh's golden palace, but he had fled Egypt in terror after killing an Egyptian taskmaster. Now he was a humble shepherd, living far from the politics of kings and the cruelty of masters. One day he saw something that defied the laws of nature, a bush burning with intense fire, yet not being consumed. From the heart of those flames, God spoke, telling Moses that he had seen the affliction of his people and was sending Moses back to Pharaoh to bring them out of Egypt. Moses trembled, feeling entirely inadequate for the task, but God promised to be with him. Armed with his shepherd's staff and accompanied by his brother Aaron, Moses and Aaron walked into the royal throne room and delivered the divine ultimatum. Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go so they may worship me. Pharaoh laughed in cold defiance, declaring that he did not know this Lord and would not release Israel. To prove his contempt, he doubled the workload of the Hebrew slaves.
Lift! Together
this
now!
Act of pride set off a series of terrifying judgments against Egypt and its false gods. God instructed Moses to stretch his staff over the Nile River. As Aaron struck the water, Egypt's primary lifeline turned into thick human blood. The river died. Fish floated to the surface by the millions, and a foul stench blanketed the entire land. For 7 days, Egyptians dug frantically along the riverbanks, searching for clean water, yet Pharaoh refused to yield. Next, God sent millions of frogs that swarmed out of the waters, covering streets, invading homes, crawling into beds, and jumping into cooking ovens. Pharaoh begged Moses to pray for relief, but the moment the dead frogs were cleared away, Pharaoh hardened his heart once more. Aaron then struck the dust of the earth, and the soil turned into swarms of biting gnats that covered people and livestock alike. Egypt's court magicians tried to duplicate this miracle with their secret arts, but they failed, confessing to Pharaoh that it was the finger of God. Still, Pharaoh turned a deaf ear. God then sent thick swarms of flies that ruined the land, but he made a clear distinction by keeping the region of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, completely free of insects. When Pharaoh still refused to let the people go, a devastating plague struck the livestock of Egypt. Horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, and sheep died across the fields, wiping out the nation's economic wealth overnight, while not a single animal belonging to the Israelites perished. Pharaoh's continued resistance reveals the destructive nature of unchecked pride. Raised as a living god, admitting defeat meant surrendering his own authority, locking him into a cycle of stubbornness. When Moses threw ashes from a furnace into the air, painful, festering boils broke out on skins across Egypt. The physical torment was so severe that the magicians could not even stand in Moses' presence. Next came a storm of massive, jagged hail, mixed with fire that shattered trees, ruined crops, and killed anyone exposed in the fields. What little vegetation remained was devoured by billions of locusts brought by an east wind, leaving the land stripped bare of all greenery. God then sent a plague of thick, heavy darkness that covered Egypt for 3 full days. It was an oppressive darkness so dense that no one could leave their spot or see their hand before their face. Yet the homes of Israel were filled with light. Furious, Pharaoh threatened to execute Moses if he ever saw his face again. The final judgment was the severest of all. God commanded the Israelites to slaughter an unblemished lamb, apply its blood to the wooden doorposts of their homes, and eat the roasted meat in haste while dressed for travel. At midnight, the angel of death passed through Egypt, taking the life of every firstborn son in houses without the blood, from Pharaoh's palace to the lowest prison cell. A terrible scream of agony rang across the entire nation as every Egyptian family suffered loss. Shattered by grief, Pharaoh finally summoned Moses and Aaron in the dark and ordered them to leave immediately. After 430 years of captivity, over 600,000 Hebrew men, along with their families, marched out of Egypt free, carrying silver and gold given to them by Egyptians anxious for their departure. God guided them with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. When Pharaoh's army pursued them to the edge of the Red Sea, God instructed Moses to stretch out his staff. The sea parted into walls of water, allowing Israel to walk across on dry ground before the sea collapsed back over the pursuing Egyptian army, securing Israel's ultimate deliverance.